The Hearts of Gold podcast is brought to you by the Grow and Share Network, produced by Off the Walter Media.
Welcome to Hearts of Gold. Today we have Camilla with us. Hi, Camilla.
Hi, Ms. Robinson.
Can you tell us about your Girl Scout Gold Award project?
Of course. So the title of my Girl Scout Gold Award project is Hidden Jewels of Asia. And the goal of my project is to build more united communities. There are actually three parts of my project. The first part is workshops. So I partner with two YMCA branches, and I taught over 500 students about different Asian cultures through interactive hands-on activities. I think a popular favorite was Play-Doh Pho, which is fun noodles but made out of Play-Doh. And then the second part of my workshop were YouTube vlogs. So I went to 5 different local LA Asian communities, which were Little Tokyo, Chinatown, Historic Filipino Town, Little India, and Little Saigon. And I tried their cuisine, just explored the city, and then uploaded that on YouTube. So right now my channel has over 2,500 views. And the last part of my workshop, which I think my project is most known for, is my book. I actually have it with me, Hidden Jewels of Asia. And I fundraised around $6,000 and published 700 copies of my book to libraries, schools, and Girl Scout troops across the nation. So that's our project.
What prompted your project?
A big part of what prompted my project is actually Girl Scouts. So I've been in Girl Scouts since kindergarten. So that's 13 years of, learning about friendship and teamwork, but also about service, community, and advocacy. And when the pandemic came along with the Asian hate crimes, I was in absolute disbelief because these acts of racism and violence were the complete opposite of what I've learned my entire life through Girl Scouts. And, people were disregarding the beauty of diversity, which in the United States is the fabric of our communities. And, my Girl Scout senses were tingling a little bit. And as an Asian American myself, I knew I wanted my project to be about using education to build understanding and empathy, and ultimately see a world where communities are strengthened by diversity rather than divided by diversity. So Girl Scouts definitely played a big role in that.
As you mentioned, you had 3 components. You had your vlogs, you had your education sessions, and you have your book, all of which you brought together with a website. Why and how did you pick those different aspects as your methods for sharing your story?
At the beginning, it was just workshops because I knew I wanted to work with children. I love children. So I was working with them, and then I realized that I wanted my audience to not just be children, I also wanted to target my age, the teenagers, and also adults. And what better than to do that on social media, which is where everyone is at. And YouTube was my go-to place because I also wanted to showcase how, Asian cultures aren't just in Asia. The United States is kind of like a melting pot. Asian cultures can be found in America too. So, and coupled with the fact that I wanted to sort of encourage others to explore different cultures. So encouraging people to explore and Asian cultures can also be found in America. Those two things, I kind of combined them, and the YouTube videos were was the best option for me to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And then moving on to my book. So that was sort of like the sustainability portion of my project. I also really like drawing. So that kind of just pushed me in the path of doing something art related. And, I like children, I like art. Together makes the book.
And the art in the book is so cute.
Thank you.
One piece you mentioned on your website is there are over 50 Asian cultures, and you chose 5 of them. I'm sure that was a very difficult choice. How did you narrow down to the choices that you made?
It was sort of random, just a little bit. Me personally, I'm Chinese American, so I had to do Chinese. And then I sort of just did a few of the bigger Asian populations, but for sure, I made sure to tell people that just because I chose these 5, it doesn't mean that these 5 were any better than the other. Like, all of them were unique, all of them are beautiful. It just happens that I just selected these 5, and one of them is my own. And also, I made sure to fact check because I have some friends who are of those cultures, and I want to make sure that I'm saying the right thing. So I asked them beforehand as well to help me out.
When you did your videos, what interesting pieces did you pull out of your videos? For me, when I watched them, for example, I really appreciated when you were in the markets and you looked at the different clothings, how you shared what the different clothings were and why they were unique to that culture. And I didn't realize how different each one of them actually were. What did you learn that you didn't know before?
It was definitely the religion. Oh, I think so. I'm Buddhist, but I don't know a lot about the other religions. But I know the Filipino culture, they're a big proponent of Christianity, and they actually have a festival where they celebrate Santo Niño, which is like baby Jesus. So I think I learned a little bit about the religions of each culture. I also really liked the cuisine. There's actually a phrase. It's like the way to someone's heart is through their stomach. So, I fell more in love with all these cultures after trying their foods. I loved trying pho in Little Saigon. I tried the little mochis from Fugetsu Do in Little Tokyo. Definitely learning more about the cuisine and the religion was something I learned through the vlogs.
I loved the food and the drinks that you chose. They were all so colorful, and I just wanted to go and taste them.
I think one of my most popular videos is when I went to historic Filipino town and I went to it's sort of like an all-you-can-eat, but you grill your own meat.
It was super interesting. I really encourage people to go watch those videos. You talked about the origination of your project was the presentations that you were making. Can you share some more about those presentations and the impact that you actually had?
How my workshop worked was I had a slideshow that talked about the culture, the difference between cultures and traditions, because these are little kids, so they're like, what is that? The importance of learning about a culture and a tradition. And then I talked about the geographic location. Someone said that, it was funny because someone said that, I think it was Vietnam was located in the United States. Someone, when I asked them where it's located, they're like, it's in the United States. And I was like, nope. But that was funny. And then I also talked about some of their really popular festivals, like Chinese New Year and for Chinese culture, for example. And then some popular foods, and also lastly, some Asian Americans from that descent, just to show that you can find this culture inside America. And then after showcasing that interactive slides, I also did a hands-on activity. So like I mentioned, there was the Play-Doh pho, but then for Indian culture, for example, I had them do henna bookmarks. So henna is like a design, but they usually do it on their arms, but I had them do it on a bookmark of paper so that they can try. I think for Chinese culture, there was paper lanterns. For Japan, there were these Japanese fans where they decorated with sakura flowers. Yeah, and then after they did the activity, I also bought some snacks. So in the Philippines, mango is really popular there. So I had mango cake. It's a little tiny cake like that. And I just passed it out. But I made sure that their parents were okay with it too, because just in case they had allergies or whatnot. But that was the overall sort of gist of my workshops.
I know that on your website, in order to help promote Asian American heritage, you have shared those activities. Can you tell us about what's on your website and how adults and teachers may be able to use those resources?
Of course. Let me pop up my website really quick. So if anyone's watched this wants to follow along. So on my homepage, there are some tabs on the top, and there's one called Workshops. And if you click on that, it says Workshop Outline. And all my slides for Chinese, Vietnamese, Indian, Japanese, and Filipino are all posted there. And all of the topics I listed, like the festivals, the Asian Americans, they're all in the slides. And there's also a button called Activities for Cultural Workshops. If you click on that, it'll go into a Google Doc with all the different interactive activities, and each activity has a link, either a YouTube link or like a image presentation that teaches let's say it's like a teacher who wants to use them, who teaches the teacher how to make them so that they can teach their students as well. And yeah, that's how my books, if you want to access them, it's on my website and it's all free.
You mentioned that you have over 2,500 views on your YouTube videos and that you've served over 500 participants during your workshops. How did you promote and be able to reach out to that many people?
At first, it was really, really difficult. But the promotion and the fundraising sort of went in hand together, and I'll explain why. So at first, I wanted to build my funds in order to print my books. It was really difficult. I went to restaurants. I remember I went to Marie Callender, and then mid-elevator speech, the manager went like, and I was like, oh, okay, he doesn't want me here. I went to restaurants. So besides that, I went to restaurants. I even went to a hotel, after-school programs, tutoring services, libraries, etc. I went everywhere in my city and tried to ask for like sponsorships, as well as, promote my project. But at the end of the day, I got a whopping total of nada, 0. It was like they didn't, 0 supporters who actually committed and followed through. So I had to change like my game plan. Rather than reaching out to people I didn't really know, I reached out to people like around me and people I knew personally. So I made like 500 business cards. I made the website. I also created a sponsorship tier system. So if you donated $1,000, you would be a platinum supporter and you would get a signed copy of my book. Your name would be bigger on my sponsorship page in my book. And like I would promote you on my, like, thank you in my social media pages. And during that time, I reached out to literally everyone I met. So that was also part of the promoting process. Other than Girl Scouts that summer, I also went to like competitions in Atlanta, Georgia. I went to like a STEM workshop. So all those areas, even if they were not Girl Scout related, I passed out my business cards. And I think that was like one of the biggest things I learned, is to not be afraid to approach people. Because in that competition in Atlanta, Georgia, I actually met a literary agent, Ms. Grichkowski, and she actually helped me distribute 100 copies of my book in Wisconsin, which is where she came from. So, it's cool that my books are in Wisconsin. So, the fundraising process was actually what helped me promote, because that was how I got to meet a lot of people.
What was most surprising to you during the process that you didn't know about going into a Gold Award process and could be helpful for other Girl Scouts?
It might sound a little cliche, but the biggest thing that I learned is that there's opportunities all around us, but it's really up to us ourselves to take the first step and get those opportunities, because in reality, they're not going to come to you. You have to go to them. I think the biggest aha moment was when I decided that I wanted to make a bigger impact. I knew that I wanted my project to be global. So I had the idea of having my book as an ebook, so everyone who has access to the internet can basically, read my book, but not actually go to different areas in person. But just to test it out, I contacted some libraries in New York, and actually in Queens, New York, the library, Jackson Heights Library, they accepted my project proposal. So they were another one of my partners, and I actually flew to New York to give a presentation and pass out my books to the people, to the children in the library. But then during that time, I also knew that this was a public event, and I didn't want to go and have no one show up. So this was like an example of me, paving my own path, building my own opportunities, because at that time, yeah, at that time, I reached out to Girl Scouts of Greater New York to help build my publicity. I was like, would you mind helping me promote my flyer? So they posted my flyer on their Facebook page and their newsletter. And actually, on the day of the event, I think half of the audience were all Girl Scouts. So that was really exciting. Girl Scouts from New York. And I also reached out to World Journal, which is the largest Chinese newspaper company in the United States. And they actually agreed to interview me and publish an article about me in the New York section of World Journal. So that was also really cool too. And I didn't know that I would be in the newspaper, and I didn't know that so many Girl Scouts had come. But those two things were because I took the initiative to step out. So there's opportunities all around us. If you get rejected from them, don't worry. Rejection is all part of the process. I think that's one of the beauties of this project, because we all learn and grow from our failures. And even if you get rejected, you can always try again. And if if none of the opportunities work out, you can always make your own. And, never give up. Things will work in your favor.
What can you say to reinforce that with Girl Scouts that are going into their Gold Award projects and have never done public speaking, have never had to network and those sorts of things? What kind of encouragement can you give them to help them build that confidence and create some of the successes for themselves that you were able to create for yourself?
I definitely relate to that, because I didn't have that many opportunities to practice networking either, and I definitely struggled with public speaking as well. For the public speaking portion, for me, it was just also stepping outside my comfort zone. I knew that, not just Girl Scouts, but in life too, and in college, in my career, public speaking is going to be a major part of my career path. So if I don't overcome it, it's going to be a bigger burden in the future. And, right now is the time to make mistakes. You don't want to make mistakes at work. So I was like, I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it. I like to tell myself, 10 years from now, no one's going to remember. No one's going to remember the time when you forgot a line or something. My workshops, it wasn't perfect at first either, but they're children. They don't really know. So I'm just like, whatever. I just kept practicing, and eventually, my public speaking became better. And to those Girl Scouts who need to incorporate public speaking, it's your project. So, you're the only one who knows the most about your project. I don't think you don't have to be scared, because most of the questions is about you and your project, which you know already. So just practice, and it might be scary at first. Don't worry. My knees were shaking the first time as well. But in the end, the more you practice, the better you get. And I think that works for most things as well. And then for networking, I think the easiest way is to maybe start with your friends and your family, because they're closer to you. So you can practice presenting your elevator speech to them, and ask for some feedback. And then afterwards, just start branching out slowly but steadily. You can maybe go to your teachers who are a little less as close, but you still know them. After teachers, whoever you meet along the way. I think that's just slow and steady, and eventually you'll be able to branch out. And I think also have good not work ethic, but make sure to respond promptly for your emails so that you can keep up that connection. You don't want to meet someone and then sever that connection immediately by not responding back to their emails. Or if they call you, and you somehow you don't pick up, try to call them back as well as oh, I'm so sorry. Was there something you wanted to mention? Blah, blah, blah. Try to keep up those connections as much as possible, because maybe further down your path, you might need them again. Yeah, I think that's my tips for that.
I'm really impressed with your thought in bringing information to the STEM event that you went to in Georgia and reaching out to Girl Scouts of Greater New York when you were doing an event there. How can you help other Girl Scouts think about activities that might be completely unrelated to their project and encourage them to envelope everything they're doing back to their project.
So in the STEM camp specifically, yes, that was a little harder. But I just started up a conversation with something that's more broad. For example, let's say you're an instructor there. I would say like, oh, do you happen to know anyone who's in the book who likes writing books? Or I would ask them, are there any like equity programs in this? Because this STEM camp was located in a college. So I was like, are there any equity programs located in this college? Because my project was centered around equity, Asian American culture, stuff like that. And then after they said their answers, I would slowly branch into my project. I'll be like, I asked because I'm working on my project, which is about equity. Would you like to hear about it? And then, mid-conversation, I would sneakily give them my business card. And then if they seem interested, I'll talk more. If they don't, it's okay. Maybe word will go out. Maybe they'll tell their other person. They'll tell a friend of a friend who is really interested, and then they will reach out to me. And then I make sure to tell them. I actually have my business card right here. I have like my email, my website, and my YouTube channel. So I'll be sure, like, if you have any questions, you can email me here. So that was sort of what I did in my for STEM. For doing something that's trying to connect my project to something that's not related. I don't recommend just like jumping straight in and just be like, hi, would you like to hear about my project? Like, they might be a little scared at first. So ease it in with like some sort of question that is broad. And then for the competition, that was a little easier for me because the competition actually had workshops. One of the workshops was about entrepreneurship, sort of related. I don't know, but I just attended just for the fun of it. And then after the speaker was done speaking, I went up to the speaker and I asked them, wow, this is really I learned a lot from your entrepreneurship workshop. I'm actually working on my book, which I want to promote more and, spread my influence about. Do you have any tips on that? Or do you have anyone you can connect me with? And so, there was already like an opportunity for me to go up and talk about it because it's somewhat related. She actually did not know anything about books, but she knew the literary agent. So she directed me towards that person, and that was how I met them. So yeah, I think really to anyone who wants to incorporate their project in their like daily life, you just need to build conversation, build rapport, and don't be afraid to reach out because their connections might be the ones you need.
What was your biggest challenge during your project and how did you overcome it?
It was the funding. That was my biggest challenge. And also the public speaking. And I also did touch a little bit about it. But I want to delve a little deeper into the public speaking portion. I knew that I really liked working with children because in my silver award project, I did like a cybersecurity workshop where we also taught children. So I really liked that. And because I was so passionate about teaching children, that helped a lot in overcoming my fear of public speaking. So for those who are scared of public speaking, try to find something you're really, really passionate about, because if you're really passionate about it, you don't have to worry about being scared of other stuff. Like you'll help you overcome that.
Do you have a favorite memory from your project to share?
I think it was when I went to a school and I was presenting. I did like a read along for my book. And I also, like, during each page, I don't know if you looked through my book before, but my book it's called Hidden Jewels of Asia. It's about a grandma chicken and her three little, let me show you. Her three little nephews, nieces, the granddaughters and grandsons. We're also chickens, and they go on an adventure because she has a box with different jewels from each culture. And basically, for example, like the first jewel is tea from China. And you can see both of these pages have different Chinese cultures. Like there's tea, there's the flag, and there's also the animal, which is the rabbit. And in Chinese culture, the rabbit symbolizes longevity. So for each of these pages where I talk about jewel, I also talk about the different Chinese cultures. And one of them is, of course, I mentioned it, pho from Vietnam. And during this time, I asked the question, has anyone here tried pho before? And a lot of people raise their hand. But then there's just one little boy specifically who's really excited. He's like, I tried pho before. And I was like, oh, would you like to say something? And he basically goes on like a 2-minute tangent about how much he loves pho. But in reality, it's just him saying, I love pho, but in different variations. It was super cute. At that moment, I was just like, oh, that's so cute. And, like moments like these when they're just so innocent and they just can't wait to express their feelings. And then, like, afterwards, several of those children came up and hugged me, and I was like, oh, thank you for hugging me. And they also like to talk about, like, I was like, oh, does anyone want to write their own book? And they would like to, like, I love hearing their stories about what drawings they did before and whatnot. They actually, after all my workshops, all the students wrote like a little thank you card and they drew their own drawings. So I had a lot of fun looking through those and seeing their own versions of what a chicken looked like. One of them had really long legs. I think that was one of my favorite memories, just meeting with the children, hearing their little stories, and kind of reminded me of my own innocence back in the day. It makes me sound old, but yeah, that's my favorite memory.
Who was on your team and how did they help you?
The obvious was my parents. They drove me everywhere to my workshops and they helped me brainstorm and everything. They were my biggest supporters. But other than my parents, the other people on my team were my English teacher and my friends. They helped me revise my book. If I had like grammar mistakes that I didn't see, they would be like, oh, you forgot an S here. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. They gave me feedback from my book. So that was from the book portion. I also had my Chinese teacher. She's really passionate about Chinese. She actually taught me AP Chinese. But I had her look through my Chinese part of the book. My friends also helped with the cultures in my book as well. And then, of course, there were also the community partners. The director of YMCA Montebello is Mr. Parsik, and he actually played a pretty big role as one of my supporters, as one of my team members, because after my workshop, he actually nominated me as a Citizen of the Month for the city of Montebello. I don't even live in Montebello, but like he still nominated me anyways. And after that, I got a lot of recognition because they posted about me and my project in their social media accounts, and they also put me on their local newspaper. And at the time, that was like when I was trying to fundraise and promote, but I wasn't that successful at the time. But having that recognition and having Mr. Parsik like nominate me, that was a big confidence booster. And he also helped me like believe in myself, like, even if it doesn't look like even if it looks like it's not going to work out, it will in the end. And you have supporters like me to help you. This is Mr. Parsik saying that to me. So I was very fortunate to have someone like him help me during that time when I was thinking to myself like, oh, I don't have enough funds. Maybe I shouldn't do a book at all. So having him on my team definitely helped a lot.
What else would you like to share with the audience?
I do have a little fun fact, which is my website actually gives me like a report, like a statistics about the people who viewed it. And one of the things I'm most astonished about is how much coverage my website actually got. So actually there's people from 21 states and 14 countries who have viewed my website. And it was really surprising to me to think that, there's people from Indonesia, Brazil, Hong Kong, Africa, like there's people from these places who've actually viewed my project. So I think there's a little fun fact about also like you don't know where your project's gonna go.
How do you make your s'mores?
I actually don't like putting the Hershey chocolate inside. I just take the Duke graham crackers and then the marshmallow. And then I've seen some of my friends, they like burning it to the like They like just putting it in the fire, and then the entire marshmallow is like engulfed in flames, and then they blow it out, and afterwards it's all black. Well, I don't really like that, but I like it when it's just like the perfect toasty brown color, and I just put it in those 2 graham crackers, or sometimes I just eat it off the stick. That's how I like my s'mores.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. It was really fun telling you about my project.
Make sure to click follow or subscribe so you always know when new episodes are released. Power your passion and conquer your challenges.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to be on the show to share your story of how you earned your gold award, reach out and send an email to growandsshare@outlook.com. Be sure to catch up on our previous shows on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, as well as view the full video versions at youtube.com/Cheryl M. Robinson. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.